Hello, hello. Hello. Am I live? Can you guys hear me? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Hello, hello. Ooh, okay. Okay, let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay, yes, yes, perfect. Hi from Canada. Hello, Cat Power Train. You can hear me? Perfect. Oh, 5 a.m. Hello from Georgia. Hello from Pittsburgh. I have some friends in Pittsburgh. Cool. Perfect. Hello. Welcome. Hi, guys. The sound is double. Interesting. Can anyone else tell me the sound is double? Just want to double check things. Um, Seems like everyone else can hear me pretty well. That's perfect. Okay, cool. All right, great. You guys are from all over the world. That's so exciting. Oh my God. Wow. Hello. That's amazing. Cool. Okay, well, hi there. Welcome to the 100K Creative Workshop. This is an amazing workshop. I hope that you guys really enjoy it. Today, I want to teach you to make $10,000 a month as a creative. And there are going to be three main things that we're going to learn. But before we get into that, I want to ask you guys a question. If by the end of this live event, you could walk away with the following, would this be worth 90 minutes of your time? Number one, a complete understanding of the exact content you need to post on socials to make sales as a creative. So, the exact strategy. Number two, knowledge of how to price and sell your work to comfortably hit six figures a year as a creative. And number three, a clear roadmap of the precise steps that you would have to take to go from starving artist to six figures, all while working less. Would this make 90 minutes of your time worth it? I hope so, right? I hope so. Seems like we're getting a lot of yeses in the comments. Ooh, some folks are from the Bay Area. That's very exciting. Perfect. Okay. Even just one would be worth it. I totally agree. Okay, so if you're new to my world, hi, I'm Kelsey. I am an oil painter turned business and marketing educator for creatives, and since 2020, my videos have been viewed over 14 million times, almost 15 million, and I have helped thousands of creatives learn to share and sell their work with confidence. I have had people tell me that I am one of the most knowledgeable and helpful folks out there, that there is no channel on YouTube that is as consistently valuable as mine, and I don't know if I believe all that, but I do really appreciate the kind words and I do try my best. So I've also been featured in lots of traditional media. I've been in Imagine FX magazine, I've been on podcasts, Business Insider, and I don't just say this stuff, I do actually put in the work. So since I started focusing on email marketing last year, I have more than tripled actually the amount of folks on my email list. So I know how this stuff works. And right now, it's actually lower. This is actually lower than it is right now. I actually added something like 2,000 folks to my email list in the past 30 days. So this is from almost 2 weeks ago when I started working on this workshop for the first time. So I have a 50% open rate in my emails. Like, people just like the stuff that I make, and I'm going to teach you exactly how to do the same thing. So I also get lots of glowing testimonials. Lots of folks say that I have really helpful advice, that I am the best person they've ever worked with, which again is very flattering. And I really love getting these comments, and I really try my best to make every experience with me as valuable as possible. So all that is true, and I still struggle with anxiety and imposter syndrome. I was not confident talking to the camera when I first started creating content, and you won't be either. It is normal to not feel super confident at first. Confidence is a thing that you build through practice. It's not something that you are born with. It's not a thing that comes naturally to folks very often. Confidence is born out of doing similar things. And when you are stepping outside your comfort zone, which I will push you to do today, there's going to be some discomfort there. And that's a thing that you will have to learn to push through, just like I did. I also have a chronic illness, so I had to figure out solutions to be able to manage chronic fatigue and still grow my business. So the things that I will teach you today will still work for you if that's true of you as well. And I also grew up low income, so there is no like wealthy benefactor backing me or my channel. I have no roadmap for success when I first started, so I have had to figure out all of this stuff on my own. And I'm hoping that the lessons that I will teach you today will enable you to cut through a lot of that painful learning process that I had to go through. So, as a part of growing my own business and kind of unpacking a lot of the unhealthy mindsets around money that I had growing up very low income, there are three really important lies that I had to unlearn. And the first is that you need to post 24/7, quote unquote, or you need to have a massive audience to make money from your work. This is not true. This is going to sound crazy, but I actually went viral in 2022. My channel was getting a ton of views. I have videos from that time that have 1 million plus views now and got there very quickly. And I am actually making more now with a tenth of the views than I was back then. And the students that I'm working with, some of them have massive followings online. And I've had to tell them, like, hey, I think that you should decrease your following. I think that you actually have an audience of not the right people. And they've lost followers, but they've made more money as a result. And so that's a big lie that I had to unlearn. I had to really like think to myself, it's not just how many people are following you, it's whether those folks are the right people. So the next lie that I really had to unlearn was that there is no such thing as a 6 or 7 figure creative business, that it's not possible. And this is extremely untrue. I know that because maybe in your own life you don't have an example of what this looks like, that you don't sort of have folks in your life that you see succeeding who are really creative, but it is possible. It really is. It is possible, and as a matter of fact, it's not even that uncommon anymore. I'll get into that in a second. And finally, there's this lie that it would be selfish or unethical to allow yourself to be ambitious and to push for more in life. And if there is one mindset that I want you to track in yourself more than anything else, it is this one. As creatives, we always want to reduce ourselves and make ourselves feel so small. And you have to stop doing that. You deserve to make money from your work. You deserve to make enough money from your work that you can not just survive but thrive as a creative. It is acceptable to want more. It's okay to be ambitious. There's this narrative in the art community especially that it's like so sleazy to charge money, like, oh my god. And it's like, girl, you run a business. You run a business. You know what businesses have to do? They have to sell things to make money, to continue to operate. It is normal to care about your numbers, to think about profit margins, to do your own accounting, to figure out all of this stuff in the back end. It's how you stay afloat. The creatives that push you down, that want you to not think about stuff like this, I want you to like kind of remember those folks in your mind and check on them in 5 years, because to be totally honest, I'm not usually this blunt, but to be totally honest, those folks will not be in business 5 years from now, because most small businesses fail because they don't care enough about sales, because they don't track the numbers enough. And by just doing that one thing, by just allowing yourself to be ambitious, by allowing yourself to care about sales, you will dramatically increase your chances of success. So I want to do a little reality check for you, because over 115,000 one-person businesses, meaning one employee, the founder, made over $1 million in 2023 in the United States. Over 115,000 one-person businesses, can I say words, brought in $1 million in revenue in the US. That could legit fill up the largest stadium in this country, and you would still have 10,000 people in the parking lot waiting to get in. The largest stadium is the University of Michigan Stadium, and it could fill that to capacity and then still have 10,000 people in the parking lot, okay? And I want you guys to guess. I want you guys to guess how many businesses you guys think broke 6 figures in the US. One-person businesses. I would love some guesses in the chat. Again, just breaking 6 figures. So we know 115,000 made $1 million in revenue in 2023. But how many broke 6 figures? Just $100,000 a year, just that. At least 7. Yeah, that's right. It is at least 7. That person wins an award. No, I'm just kidding. 25,000, 8, 1,000, 100, 30, a million, 75,000, 100,000, 10,000, over 6 million. Over 6 million one-person businesses broke six figures in revenue in 2023. So 115,000 made $1 million in revenue. 6 million broke six figures. If you guys are in the US, there's a really solid chance that that is greater than the population of the state that you are in right now. That's what I mean when I say that this is possible. This is not a pipe dream. Just because you are not surrounded by folks that are ambitious and that are this level of successful, like just because you are surrounded by folks that work a 9 to 5 and have never been an entrepreneur, which is totally fine, by the way. I'm not trying to like put those people down. It is normal and totally acceptable to not want to own your own business. But if you're not around stuff like that, then it can be really easy to not see what's possible. But 6 million people broke six figures running a one-person business in the US. That's crazy. That's that's crazy. And what's actually really crazy is that that number has more than doubled in the past 10 years. It is becoming increasingly common to make this work. Some of you are asking in the chat, okay, how many of those are creatives? I have no idea. Probably a lot. They don't break that down that much. I would love it if they did, but all we know is that they have 6 million one-person businesses, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, that broke six figures in 2023. I'm sure that breaks down to a much smaller portion of those are creatives, but a lot of one-person businesses are very creative. So 6 million still. I want to anchor to that number. That number is really important. And if you want to make 2026 your year, again, you have to let go of this starving artist mindset. I don't call it the starving artist myth anymore because, as we can see, it is a myth. We all know that. But what's left is this mindset, right? This mindset that we have to be small. And if you want to make this year your year, I want you to allow yourself to be ambitious. I want you to allow yourself to want more. It is okay to want more. So here is our agenda for today. We had that intro. Next, I'm going to teach you how to attract customers and not just casual fans. Then we'll talk about the product suite that will make you $100,000 a year, what to focus on to 10x your business, and at the end, I will give you a very short and sweet pitch on how you can keep working together if you want to. And then finally, as much Q&A as we have time for. Okay, so let's start by talking about how to attract actual customers. The thing that we all want to do, right? We love attracting customers. So I'm willing to bet that some of what I'm about to say will be pretty familiar to a lot of you. So you post work in progress photos and shop update announcements, and you create lots of content on your socials, but you don't get any sales. Even when your posts get pushed out by the algorithm, it doesn't move your bottom line. People say they like your work, but they just never buy. And that's frustrating. You feel like you are doing truly all of the right things, but you're not getting any of the results to show for it. You are overworked and frankly underpaid, and you're really frustrated. And that's normal. And it's normal because a lot of folks don't know how to create content for customers. So here's why sales are slow. Sales are slow because you are creating content from the perspective of an artist, not a business owner. These two things are very different. Content should always, first and foremost, be aimed at attracting potential customers. This means meeting them where they are at, articulating the value of your work, and telling a great story. I want you guys to write this down. This last point right here, this is super important. Like, please take notes on this, okay? Because a lot of the creatives that I work with, that I see online, the biggest shift that I get them to make that 10x's their business and their sales almost immediately is by making this one shift, truly. And a lot of artists that I see online that are just starting out look at the market, and I have air quotes there, the market, with a little bit of confusion because they create content that they are seeing other artists make online. Those other artists are getting views, sure, but are they getting sales? Sometimes we don't know, right? Lots of folks are not financially transparent and they don't have to be. That's kind of exceptional to do that. The thing is, though, just because you see other artists creating certain kinds of content does not mean that is the right content for you, number one, that will attract customers, number two, and that's even just like the right strategy in general to have. And here's what I mean by this. Like, do you think that the average consumer is going out there and watching studio vlogs? Probably no, right? Us artists are. And your ideal audience is likely not just other creatives. If you are posting work in progress posts and time lapses and studio vlogs and content that is ultimately for other creatives, you truthfully cannot be surprised when you do not get the sales that you were hoping for, because you are not creating content for customers. Your ideal audience is likely not just other creatives. If you are an educator, disregard what I just said. Disregard what I just said. That is not for you, okay? Keep doing what you're doing. But if you are trying to sell your creative work, if you are trying to get sales of art prints, of any kind of retail product, hair clips, prints, what have you have to think about customers, customer-focused content. So I'm gonna do case studies together with you, okay? And I'm gonna show you exactly what this looks like. So here's this brand called Hey Ricochet. I actually did a massive breakdown of this brand for my students. Like, it was 30 minutes long, because I think that this brand is doing some really amazing things with customer-focused content. And notice how I'm using that word over and over again, right? So Hey Ricochet is a hair accessories brand. They sell hair clips. And I think they're so cool. Their ideal audience is women, of course, but lots of different kinds of women. Lots of different kinds of people that had different styles, different aesthetics, and Hey Ricochet makes a point to bond over shared interests of things like the show Sabrina and Tiffany lamps and knitting and like cute little cult classic Christmas movies. They also make a point to share personal stories and show examples of their product in action. That's so important. They show how to use the product. They show themed collections at a glance. They bond over the aesthetic their customers might have, what might draw someone to their brand. And I think this is genuinely so, so important. Like, you have to do this. Like, you have to bond with your customers over what they want, over who they are, what interests they might have. And you use those interests as a way to get your foot in the door, to show your work and bond over that, to build that kind of rapport with them. But you have to meet them where they're at first. And that's why I always talk about bonding over these shared interests, right? To think about like the web of stuff that connects you and your audience together, and to make content about that. Like, I'm really glad that Hey Ricochet is creating knitting content, like bonding over stuff like this, and hairstyle videos, and cult classic references. They even have like some I Spy carousels and some stuff where they, have hair clips tailored to people's favorite TV shows and their favorite movies and their favorite like Studio Ghibli movies even. And like, that's the kind of stuff that allows your customer to feel really aligned with you and your brand. And I say brand because I think that as creatives, if you really want to focus on the sale of your work, you should start to think about you and your work and your business as kind of a brand. Your brand can be very all-encompassing, can be very broad. You don't have to narrow yourself in. You don't have to confine yourself or like reduce the extent to which you are an amazing multi-passionate creative to be a brand, but you should have an ideal audience. You should have like some signature visual elements that make you and your brand like what it is, right? That kind of unite everything. You should have a thing that you are saying, a story that you are telling. And Jeff Weir also does this really, really well. Jeff Weir, if you don't know his work, he is an incredible oil painter. I've admired him for a long time. My student Jacqueline suggested that I bring him up at some of these events, and Jeff Weir is a really cool guy. Like, I think that's just part of his appeal for sure, but he creates these really amazing Western oil paintings. of horses and cowboys, and they're very large scale. Like, I don't know if you guys can see how small he is compared to this massive canvas, but his work is very large scale. It sells for thousands of dollars. He only releases prints like once a year, and he sells bronze castings of stuff. Like, he has truly just transformed himself into having a ton of aspects of his business. Like, he does sculpture, he does oil paintings, he does all these things. This is even a stop motion animation of a horse he did with clay. That was also really cool. He has photos of himself like riding a horse in his studio. So he like brought a horse to take a photo shoot there. And there's this sense in which all of his content is united around these visual elements, right? The cowboy, the gun, the skeleton, the horse, this lifestyle that used to exist in the US a very long time ago and does not really anymore, except for, some small rural areas of this country. And he lives that. Like, he's wearing a bolo tie. He dresses the way that his characters sometimes do. He inhabits this brand, and it's him, right? He's not being a character. He's not performing. He's just leaning into his passions, what makes him unique. And he's exceptional. He's known for painting with one hand and keeping the other hand like in his pocket. It's so casual. What I love about Jeff's content is that he is so heartfelt. He tells stories. He bonds with people over the kind of personal nature of his work. He talks about how he grew up reading cowboy adventure novels and what those novels were about. He tells like kind of his emotional involvement, his attachment to his subject, why these themes are important to him, why his work really matters as a way for him to express himself. He doesn't get super personal very often. He does not bare his soul, but there is a sense in which like we understand a part of Jeff's character as a result of his content. We get to know him, and through him and his story, we fall in love with his work. We see the attachment that he has to this subject, how rich it is, right? He'll tell personal long stories, and the fact that like he dresses like his characters too shows alignment with his target audience and the themes of his work, like that person, right? Like Jeff Weir's work is for a very particular kind of person. I love his work because I'm an oil painter and I appreciate the craft of it, and I also just like, am so social media brain pilled, I'm so strategist pilled that I always see the strategy and everything. But his audience loves him because of that connection, that alignment that he has, right? And even when he shares like social proof content showing work has sold, he like puts a little red sticker on a gun and just like fires it at the piece. I think that's so cool, right? It's so in character for him. It's so fun. The thing that both of these case studies do, even though they are very different, like Jeff Weir and Hey Ricochet are very different. This is a small brand. This is a massive individual artist. Both of them tell their story, have this brand, lean into what makes them unique, have a thing they are saying, have an ideal audience very dialed in, and they create a world of content around their work, right? Each piece fulfills a purpose. It bonds with their customer, or it demonstrates their value, or it tells a story, or it does all three. And these can overlap, these purposes, but going forward after today, I want you to be much more intentional. I want you to think about how you can serve your customer. I want you to think about what your customer might need from you, what they might want to understand to feel involved in your work, to feel attached to your story, to understand your mission, and to be convinced of the value of your work. And when I say value, people get really caught up in that very quickly, right? Like, oh, I have to educate, or I have to solve world hunger. No, not even close. You do not have to solve world hunger for your work to have value. Your work already has value. It has value because it matters to you. It can fulfill an emotional need in someone. It can remind someone of something. Like, for example, I have some artwork right in front of me right now, and one of the pieces is by Tommy Kim. You guys know him, he's a gouache artist. It's this beautiful, I'm not going to take it down to show you, I'm sorry. It's this beautiful sort of sunset gouache painting of a street in LA, and it looks very sort of sun-kissed. It's beautiful, it's very loose. That painting has value to me. Tommy Kim's work has value to me because I love the color. It reminds me of days that I would spend in sort of the warm Alabama evening growing up in high school with my friends, and we would drive around in somebody's, beat up car and hang out in parking garages and have fun together and play Cards Against Humanity, and that's what the light would be like. That has value to me. Does Tommy Kim know that has value to me? No, of course not. But the emotional impact of people's work, that is valuable, right? What your work reminds someone of, what it sparks in them emotionally, what it helps them think about, that all has value. And maybe your work is really entertaining. Maybe it literally has a message. Maybe you do very political work, or you advocate for climate change, like, against climate. You guys know what I mean. Words are hard. Your work has value because it matters to you, right? It has a story. All I want you to do is to articulate that story and talk about what someone could stand to gain from your work. Does it just replace the massive white wall they have in their living room? That is also valuable, right? Like having home decor that speaks to you, that feels like it fits your personality, that is, of course, also very valuable. So again, I want you to think about these things, and I want you to craft a content strategy that is very deliberate, like Hey Ricochet and like Jeff Weir, that bonds with your customer, meets them where they are at. So talks about their interests, the web of things that connect you and your work to other pieces of media and interests and artistic themes and other creatives and whatever. That is an entry point to allow your customer to bond with you and your work, right? And then of course also, like Jeff, like tell your story. Talk about how you fell in love with art, why you create the work that you do. And all of those things, if you do that really successfully, you will experience so much more success by just creating content that is aimed at a customer. Stop creating content just for other creatives, because once again, that is not your ideal audience. So I want to show you sort of my experience with this, because last year I wrote a book, I guess 2 years ago. Oh my God. November of 2024, I released a book. I devoted months to that project, like a tremendous amount of time. It's 200 pages long. And after that launched, I devoted months to creating a world of content that would direct traffic toward that product. And here's what happened. I posted a ton of videos, but here are 9. I started a new series. That is my Business Breakthrough series, where I roast people's social media accounts. And when I say roast, it's like the gentle parenting version of that. I'm not Caleb Hammer. I just try to be really kind and empathetic, because our work is really emotionally meaningful to us. Like, I never want to be unkind to someone. So I started a new series that allowed people to understand my credibility, to see themselves in their shoes, and to understand how my advice could apply to a whole variety of creative niches. And there's a good chance that a lot of you guys have found me over the past year through that series, because it's the most popular one my channel has had in years. So I did that. That allowed folks to see themselves in my work, which links back to our Hey Ricochet example, because you want folks to see how your product could fit into their lives, right? You want folks to see how the things that you talk about could apply to them, be that advice or an actual physical product. I also explore new topics and formats to try and sort of bond with my customer over other interests they might have. And number one, I just focus on the needs of my audience. I just created content for my customer. And I know this is kind of meta, but these are the results that I have. I created all of that, kind of that world of content, and that concretely led to over $30,000 in sales of that book. Over $30,000. That's really significant. That's really significant. That blew me away. That is the most successful any one product has ever been in my entire business ever. So that was massive. And this strategy works. Not just for someone like me who is an educator, but as we saw with Hey Ricochet and with Jeff Weir, it works for them too. All you have to do to succeed in your creative business, to attract more customers, is to create content for other customers, right? Not just other creatives. Think about what your customer needs to see from you to be willing to purchase, to care about your work, to be emotionally invested, and to be convinced that your work would positively impact their lives in some way, even if it's so small, even if it's like teeny tiny. So, okay, that is how you attract customers. Now I want to talk about the 3 paths to $10,000 a month because don't get it twisted, okay? There are truly only 3 paths to making this work. And if you guys have questions, by the way, save them until the end. We will have a super long Q&A session, so don't worry about that. Okay, the first path to 10K a month is low ticket, right? Low ticket is where you focus on selling products that are very affordable. So you sell a lot of a low priced thing. To reach $10,000 a month, you have to sell in volume, right? You have to really care about volume. You have to focus on volume. This means like orders out the door, okay? They gotta be going to make $10,000 a month. They really do. Like you really do have to sell at volume to make that work. The next option is, of course, the high ticket and luxury approach. That is where you sell a little of a very high priced thing. And then, of course, we have the mix and match approach, the approach that I hope the majority of you will follow after today. And this is where you dip into both approaches and sell a variety of products. But the low ticket approach is where most of you are probably at right now, and it is a trap. It is a trap. Because do you guys know how many $3 stickers you would have to sell every single month to make 10K? Like, I'm so real. Like, do you want to guess how many $3 stickers you would have to sell to make $10,000 a month? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and wait. I'm gonna sit here until I start seeing answers in chat. 30,000, someone says 5,000. Okay, I see some right answers. I see some right answers. Yep. Someone said I did the math and it's nuts. It's way too many, LOL, and then add shipping. Yes. And if you want previous slides, don't worry, there'll be a replay. You can go ahead and take as many notes as you want after this presentation ends, but I'm gonna keep rolling here. Okay, so the answer, which some of you got right, of course, is 3,333. You would have to sell over 3,300 stickers every single month to make 10K. This is why, for the record, this is why you feel like breaking 6 figures is impossible, because you are selling incredibly low ticket products. That's over 100 stickers a day. No wonder you're stressed out. No wonder. Like, hell yeah, girl, I would be too. This is unsustainable. It is unkind to yourself and it's unrealistic. No wonder business is hard. You are playing on hard mode. This is the hardest path for beginners. And it's also the path that 99% of you are in right now. So back up. Do something different. If you're in a new direction, you have to post a lot of content and you have to be incredibly vigilant of your margins. And when I say margins, I mean profit margins, of course, right? You have expenses. So that $3, that's not just pure profit. You have shipping, you have manufacturing, you have labor. Labor, a thing that creatives so often forget about, the actual time that it takes you, right? And this other creator, Vanator, made this amazing video, I guess 2 weeks ago now, where he talked about how his own experience, he has a 7-figure business, and I said 7-figure business, that's right, selling this kind of one specialty marker, right? And that's a very affordable product, it's just one marker. And he was losing money. He was losing money in his business. He scaled to seven figures. I keep messing that up. 7 figures. That's so impressive, God. And he made this whole video breaking his process down because he realized that he literally couldn't make money selling products under $40 at his sort of business model level, right? He was running paid ads. And the way to achieve volume, like we talked about here, is to run paid ads or to create a lot of content. All of those things have costs to them, right? Like with content, you can churn that out for sure. And You're your own boss, so you can work as much as you want. But there are trade-offs to that, right? If you have to create endless amounts of content, number one, you're on the hamster wheel. I hate the content hamster wheel. I don't know about you. And you have to do a ton of editing work. You have to show up for yourself all the time. You have to constantly think about ways that you can get views. Who wants to do that? Nobody. Literally nobody. Or you could run paid ads, which is a lot of work. I have tried this. It's a lot of work, and you have to constantly create new ad creative, and you have to really carefully watch the cost of these ads. It might cost you, you know, $3, $4, sometimes more than that, to acquire a new customer. That will eat into your margins like nothing else. It is really difficult to make $10,000 a month from just low ticket products. And low ticket, by the way, will kind of shift from industry to industry. So I often get asked, like, what does low ticket mean? Like, what number is it? That's hard to say. For a Vanator, that's under $40. Um, I would honestly generally put low ticket at under $100. That's my take on that. I think over $100 makes things a lot easier on yourself. Of course, you can have low ticket as a part of your strategy. Absolutely. We'll talk about that in a second. But to solely rely on stickers, on keychains, on small prints, you are running business on hard mode. You are making it so difficult for yourself to get ahead, especially if you aren't very financially literate, which is normal to be, by the way, and you aren't on a regular basis calculating what your profit margin is. How much of the percentage of your product you are actually taking home in profit, how much your expenses are eating into that kind of pie, right? And those are really important numbers to care about. You have to be very vigilant of expenses if you want to go this route. It's really difficult, okay? It can be done, but it's really difficult. Like this commenter said, the obvious choice is number 3, right? The mix and match approach. Because the worst case is that you would have to hire someone to help you pack orders and do stuff like that, right? And I totally agree. This is my favorite option long term. I think it just makes sense. And this is why I think the best approach, the easiest approach to making $10,000 a month as a creative, especially in 2026, is to have an offer suite, a product stack. This means that you have to have a variety of products and services at different price points. This also creates a ladder, right? So someone could start with that $3 sticker and then purchase a $300 original, and that would be totally valid. Having this offer suite makes achieving your financial goals so much easier. That's just the way the math works, right? The math is mathing here. Let me show you. So here is Talia Stanton. Talia Stanton is an incredible creative. We are mutuals. I'm very proud of this. And she's very kind. She's enormously successful. And even just aside from her popularity on Instagram, she is an amazing painter in her own right. I apologize for the traffic noise outside. And her business perfectly illustrates this concept of having a ladder of products in your business. So she starts out with having a $22 fine art print. Then she moves up to having a $230 course, which you could buy if you want to learn how to paint like her. And then she sells her originals for almost $6,000. That's a ladder, right? That is a ladder. That is like a 10 to 20x jump in terms of price at every new rung of that ladder. You don't have to lean that hard into this. Even just 2 to 5xing it would be amazing. But if you can go from offering a $3 print to a $30 product and then a $300 product, that also makes the math of running your business a lot easier. And if you can have one really expensive product, a product that almost like makes you a little uncomfortable to charge that much for because you feel like you would never be able to afford that, also do that, right? Like there are people out there that are more than happy to pay almost $6,000 for Talia Stanton's work, not just because she's built a massive audience, that's maybe part of it, of course, but because her work speaks to them, and because she has built a world of content to attract and convince those customers, right? To persuade them, to demonstrate the value of her work, to build that emotional support and connection. That's kind of what I want you to think about here, right? Like, You have to think about this ladder, this offer stack over time to enable your customers to support you at the level they want to. A lot of you might have businesses such that your customers would love to pay you $6,000 for something, but you don't give them the option. Give them the option. It's up to them if they want to take it. But truly, thinking about your business like this and having this 5 to 20x price jump, as crazy as that sounds, I know, will make achieving your financial goals much more feasible, right? Let's do the math. I will literally do the math with you right now. If we sold 1,000 prints for Talia at $22, we would make 22 grand. Not bad, right? That's pretty good. We would all be happy if that was us. If we then sold 200 courses at $230, we'd make almost 50 grand, $46,000 from just finding 200 customers. 200 customers. Yeah. If you think about that, you think about finding 200 customers over the course of an entire year. You have 12 months to do that. Okay, yeah. You could do that, right? You could find 200 people to buy your work in 12 months. You only have to create a certain amount of content to make that happen. You only have to post so many times. Breaking it down like that, thinking about, okay, how many individual people do I have to find to hit this number, to hit my goals, breaking that down into almost a posting schedule for yourself, almost like I'm going to have to hit this number and that's okay, I can do that. Then if you sold 10 originals at $5,800, again, we're just literally taking Talia's price point. I apologize for the traffic, by the way. If we sold 10 originals at that price point, we would make again over 50 grand, $58,000. Just from those 3 products alone, we have already soared past $100,000 a year, and we've still kept our work really accessible. The vast majority of our customers are still coming from that low ticket product, that $22 print. We only have to find 1,210 people willing to buy our work to make more than 6 figures. More than 6 figures in revenue. Do you guys think that you could find 200 people to pay you $200 over the course of 12 months? I'm willing to bet that if you actually really tried, if you were like, I'm going to make this my mission, I'm going to do everything possible to make that happen, I'm going to follow Kelsey's advice, and I'm going to create that world of content, I think that you could do that. I think that literally everyone watching could do that. I do not think that this is a pipe dream. I do not think this is inaccessible. I think that with the right strategy, with the content world system, you could do that. So I'm going to be a little vulnerable for a second because I do not often anymore share detailed breakdowns of my own revenue, but I want to illustrate this point to you. Okay, so last year from my educational resources, I made about $53,000. Literally that. You can see the monthly breakdown over here. This is the actual screenshot from my checkout service. It's called Samcart. And I made, almost 10K in January, almost that again in December, and then pretty solid year in between that, right? On average, I was bringing in about $4,000 a month. And I want to show you the product suite or offer stack kind of concept in real time, how it actually played out for my business. Because if we look at this, you can see the book that I mentioned earlier, it costs $97. It may be $30,000, like I said. You can see by revenue, it's the winner, right? By orders, suddenly that's a different conversation, right? Like, look at these lower ticket products, how many of them I was selling and how little they contributed to revenue as, an entire fraction. It's pretty small. But having that higher ticket product, which again is under $100, having just that one product and selling, 363 copies of it, not even 500. Yeah, that drove revenue. That made it work, right? But the low ticket stuff, that was a good entry point for sure, right? Like that was a good opportunity to get folks into the ecosystem. It was a good opportunity to convince someone like, oh, Kelsey's advice actually works. It's valuable. This is a really great quality. But I needed that higher ticket product. And again, I say higher ticket comparatively right now to make things work, to actually drive revenue. Again, just by having a mid-ticket product and selling 200 copies of it at $200, $230, you can make $46,000. By allowing yourself to charge more, by busting through this mindset, this starving artist mindset that is holding you back, by allowing yourself to be ambitious, you can make it so much easier for yourself to meet these goals. It's just the math. It's just the numbers, right? I'm not like inventing new things here. I'm just showing you these frameworks and how they can apply to your business. So that's that. Next up, we're going to talk about how to actually focus on the tasks in your business that drive revenue. So how to actually do all of this, how to make it work for you. Okay. So, does this sound familiar? You are super overwhelmed with the number of hats that you have to wear in your business. You feel constantly overworked, but you still aren't getting results. And you are constantly wondering if you were even cut out for this whole creative business thing. And you genuinely have no idea what to focus on to get real results. You feel like you are putting in a ridiculous amount of time. You're attending workshops like this, you're watching YouTube videos, but you still feel like you just don't have the time. Like you are spending so many hours of the day working on your business, but you're not getting any results. I have experienced this myself, and I have had so many students that have done the same thing that I felt so ridiculously stuck. And the thing that I have learned after working with hundreds of creatives is that there are truly only a few tasks that move your business forward. And the creatives that focus on these tasks, the ones that actually get results, they grow. And the ones that don't stay stuck. I hate to be that blunt, but it's really true. I see it constantly. I call these tasks the ones that really move you forward 10x tasks, because when done right, they can actually 10x your business. So, what is a 10x task, you might say? Well, let me tell you. A 10x task is something that has a long-term impact on your ability to either, one, attract new customers into your business. So, creating a content world, like we talked about earlier, that would be a 10x task. Or, number two, generate revenue from those customers. That would be where the offer suite or product stack concept comes into play. It does not necessarily have to be very high effort, though it often is, but it should always be very high impact. You should always think to yourself, will the fact that I did this matter 6 months from now? Will it matter a year from now, right? Focusing on one 10x task at a time will get you results much faster in your business. By allowing yourself to focus on just one thing, by allowing yourself to kind of get like, laser eyes or whatever, like to only put effort into one project, to ignore everything else where possible. I'm not saying this is always doable for everyone, but allowing yourself to, where you can, really dial in your focus, that will have amazing results. So the thing is, the 10x tasks that you will experience, like what will actually move the needle, changes constantly in your business, right? Let's say that you have an offer, right? You have a product. Let's say it's a sticker or a course or prints, whatever, right? If you are not getting sales, what you have is a leads problem, right? You have to find customers, you have to build that content world. That becomes your 10x task, right? All of this other stuff that you're spending time on, the admin tasks, answering emails, designing a new logo or a new color palette or new branding or a new website or revising, whatever for the millionth time, that does not matter. That's not important. That's not helpful. That's not driving you forward. That is just a time waster. It is just, honestly, in my opinion, another way to procrastinate on the actual stuff that moves the needle. But if that's where you are, if you have an offer but you're not getting results, what you have is a leads bottleneck. If you have an offer and you have people that are interested, if you have an audience, what you have then is a conversions bottleneck, okay? Then you have to focus on call to actions, sales pages, messaging, the way that you are talking about your product, whether or not you are even selling, right? This is so funny. I have had a ridiculous amount of students that have had like followings like 50K or 100K or 500K on Instagram and YouTube, like truly massive accounts. And they come to me and they're like, Kelsey, like, I don't know how to make this work. I'm so broke. And I'm like, okay, like, you have these products. Do you ever talk about them? And it's like, I've suggested that like Mars isn't real or something, right? Like something crazy about reality has just changed for them. They're like, no, I have to do that. And I'm like, girl, what? Yeah, of course. Yes, obviously. Your audience doesn't know that your product exists. You have to tell them, right? Like you have to convince them to buy it. You have to talk about it. You have to like, share reviews and testimonials and talk about how it fits into their lives. Like you have to, at least literally mention it ever. And they do that and they're like, okay, like I've done that. I've buried it at the bottom of all of my posts. So I have a single call to action at the bottom of every description. And I'm like, that's also not going to work. Like, you have to talk about it, right? So don't do that. Don't do that. I would love to live in a world where no one ever made that mistake again. It's so funny to me. It's like, you have no idea how much money you are leaving on the table by refusing to address your discomfort around sales. Selling is not manipulative. Okay, like it is not a bad thing to want someone to purchase your product if you truly believe that it has value, right? You are doing sales at so many points, like every day. When you convince your partner to watch a TV show. Right now I'm trying to get my partner to watch A Night of Seven Kingdoms. I love that show. I try to get him to watch it like every night. I'm like, we should watch the new episode. And my act of trying to convince him, that's sales, right? Like that's convincing. If you think that's manipulative, then I guess you think sales is also manipulative. I can't help you. But sales at its core really is just convincing someone, of making someone aware that your product exists, and if it's right for them, they will purchase. You are not like tying them down to a chair and making them purchase. No, they're opting into it. Never mislead anyone, never deceive them, but always be honest that you have a thing available. And if they want it, let them buy it, right? But they have to know it exists. You are not doing yourself any favors by being shy about the fact that you have a product available. Be honest, be ambitious, allow yourself to want more, allow yourself to become comfortable with sales. Okay, so that was a massive tangent. But if you have an offer, if you have leads, if you have conversions, if you have folks that are buying your product actively, but you are still not meeting your revenue goals, what you then have is an offers bottleneck. And all of these 10x tasks are like a prerequisite to working on the next one. You will only ever have one bottleneck at once. And if you think that you have all three, no, you don't. No, you don't. At most, you probably have a leads bottleneck, okay? Like, the default 10x task should always be leads. But anyway, if you have an offer and you have leads and you have conversions, but you are not meeting your revenue goals, what you have is an offers bottleneck. And what you want to do there is you want to launch a new offer, right? You want to do what we talked about earlier, and you want to have that product stack, that offer suite. You want to have that higher priced offer available for someone to purchase if they want to. By doing that, then you give past customers the ability to purchase from you again, and convincing past customers to purchase from you again is like the easiest thing in the world, truly. Like, if you give someone a great experience, if they love your work, and you only have one thing available, give them a new thing. Allow them to purchase from you again. There is no easier base of customers in business to convert into a repeat customer than someone who's already purchased from you. I see so many folks that never reach out to past customers, that don't have an email list, that only have one product, that never double down on a successful product. And it's like, again, you are leaving so much money on the table. So, okay, thinking about 10x tasks, no growth looks like this. It looks like you are spending hours and hours a week scrolling, telling yourself you were doing research, reworking your logo for the millionth time, writing captions for posts that never get made, agonizing over everything, and not working on the big bottlenecks that will actually move you forward in your business. That's what no growth looks like, to be totally honest. Like, I have seen so many creatives that feel really stuck, that feel like they are putting hours and hours into their business, and they are. They totally are. But it's just that they're not putting the work into the right things. And I don't want to shame anyone. Like, I don't want anyone to feel bad. It is normal to not know how to do stuff like this. Like, it is normal to not understand how to run a profitable business. It's okay. Like, I did not exit the womb knowing this, of course, but if you really want to make this work, you have to be open to learning. You have to be open to changing things to make things work, because most businesses like truly really struggle with this, and I want you to be different. I want you to be the exception. I want you to be exceptional. So that's what no growth looks like. Fast growth, like really fast growth, if you wanted to hit 6 figures this year, has to look like this. It has to look like spending the vast majority of your time on the 10x tasks that actually move the needle. You really have to focus on this. And then 20% of your time can be everything else. But the bulk of your energy has to be on all of this stuff. And does it have to be exactly like this? No. If you wanted to double your business this year, even increasing the time that you spend on 10x tasks by like 20% would be massive. My hope is that you don't view this as an all or nothing kind of framework, but instead a sort of gentle push to work a little bit more on the stuff that really moves the needle, like we talked about here. Okay. So again, even a 20% increase would be really substantial. And to be so real with you, like often we are so close to our business that we cannot get an objective sense of what's holding us back. And that's why the bottleneck cycle and the 10x task framework is truly so helpful. It forces you to zoom out, to see the bigger picture, and to focus in your efforts on one thing. But 90% of creatives never do this, and they stay stuck, and I hate to see it. Like, I am trying to make this education as accessible as possible, because you could never work with me. You could never give me $1 of your money ever in your life, but I really hope that you take this advice, that you do this, because I genuinely think that it would help you succeed. So, okay, let's recap what you have learned today. So far, you have learned about the 3 lies that are holding you back, how to attract customers, not just casual fans, and what that looks like in terms of a content strategy, the product suite that will make you 100K, and what to focus on to 10x your business. So, if you use just one of the things that we covered so far today, would the past hour, exactly, wow, have been worth it? Let me know. Yes, perfect. So getting lots of yeses in the chat. Okay, that's amazing to hear. Fantastic. Okay. And are you starting to see yourself actually build a creative business that you are fulfilled by? Do you see how this could be possible? Okay, amazing. Perfect. And finally, is it okay if I spend like 5 minutes just sharing a little bit about how we could work together if you want to? Just a little bit, a short pitch. Not gonna be super long, I promise. Okay, perfect. Amazing. Thank you. All right. If you like the cut of my vibe or whatever that phrase is, and you want to keep working together, you want like my direct feedback, if you want my hands-on support, I would genuinely, absolutely love for you to join the Creative Accelerator. This is my 12-month program to scale your creative business to $10,000 a month. It is an amazing program. I have put my heart and my soul into this, and here is what you get. Number one, you get an incredible curriculum that has all of the information that you will need to reach $100,000 in your business. Okay. You have worksheets, interactive tools. You will also get action plans for every step of the way. That means to do lists for literally every phase of your business. So you will always know what to do, like the 10x task framework on steroids. And then you also get direct feedback from me for an entire year. Access to me in DMs, in our community, feedback from me on what you are working on every single week. I have literally recorded like 20-minute videos for people explaining just how to do a little bit better in their business. And Allie in our community is loving all of my advice. She says that she likes the fact that I just tell her what to do, that she loves this, that a part of what she was struggling with was just like knowing what to focus on, and that the coaching sessions have been a guiding light when she feels scattered, that feedback from me is quick, direct, and offers tangible steps for improvement. And here are some of her incredible work. She is so talented. And my favorite part of this program are the live calls. I do a combination of workshops, live lecture, feedback sessions, office hours. They are hosted twice a month at 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. Pacific. If you can't make it live, they are always recorded. Okay. And according to Melina, I keep blowing her mind on these calls. She has said that she always feels like she learned something that has completely shifted the way that she thinks about business, and that she has struggled before, but that this program has given her the next steps that she actually needs to experience growth. And she did not just say that, she has lived it, because to keep shouting her out for a second, Melina recently took my advice, launched an email newsletter, and gained 158 new subscribers and a brand new email list in just 24 hours from an Instagram story. Not a post, just an Instagram story. 158 new people on her email list. And like we talked about earlier, you do not need an incredible amount of customers to reach your financial goals, right? Like, you only need a couple people. So let's talk about price, because all of what I'm talking about is incredibly high value, and you could learn some of this at an MBA program, but it would run you like $200,000 a year at a top school. I have looked, it's expensive. Or you could pay someone like me for one-on-one coaching, but that would cost you like $24,000 a year at a minimum. But I'm not gonna make you pay that, just straight up. That's not me. That's not how I like to live my life. I like to make things a little different. So in this program, in the Creative Accelerator, you are going to get 24 live group coaching calls. That is a $3,000 value. You're also going to get the entire curriculum with step-by-step lessons, worksheets, tools, software. That is a $1,500 value. Then you're also going to get direct feedback from me every week via DMs, via our community. That is a $5,000 value, and I'm underpricing that. Then you also get an asynchronous group community with ambitious creatives just like you. That is a $500 value. And then all of my resources. But I am only charging $12.97 for this offer. And I want you to be one of the 24 folks that I have room to take on today, to take advantage of this opportunity to work with me directly to build a 6-figure creative business. And there are some amazing bonuses that you can only get for free if you are one of those 24 folks to join today. And I only have that many spots. Number one, you get to find your business besties. One of the bonuses is the mastermind matching that I will be doing starting in March for all of the folks in the program as a little experiment. And as a part of that, I will personally hand select 3 to 5 other people in the program to meet with you in small group settings personally. People have literally told me that they have found their best friends. I kid you not, their best friends in communities that I have founded. And I am bringing that same energy to this program. You'll also get the 10x task framework, but way more in depth, because one of the really common objections that folks have to programs like this is, oh, Kelsey, I would love to join, but I don't have time. But like we talked about today, the reason that you feel so overwhelmed is because you are wasting your time on the wrong things. You are allowing admin work to run your life. But as a part of onboarding for this program, I have created a so in-depth signature 10x task framework, an amazing flowchart that you can only see a little bit of on the screen right now, that will take you 2 minutes a week. And as a result, you will always know exactly what to focus on. Think about how much clarity that could give you to wake up in the morning and literally always know what you have to do to get results. So with those two bonuses, again, the 24 live group coaching calls, the curriculum, the direct feedback from me, the community, the mastermind groups, and the tools like the 10x task framework, this is over a $12,000 value. And I am only charging $12.97 a year. I have done a ton of market research for this offer, so I know, and you know too, what other folks out there are charging, and I promise that you are not going to find a better value for what I am offering. Look if you want to, but you're not going to find it. And I know that the price isn't cheap, but a part of my goal for this program is to scale your business to 6 figures. And Emily, a student in our community, used the feedback that I have been giving her to literally, I kid you not, make $2,000 this past week. That paid for her entire year in this space and then some. She left me an amazing testimonial. She's an amazing copywriter, and yeah, she made $2,000 last week, which is awesome. I am so happy for her. So to keep the standard of support really high, to allow myself to be like the coach that I really want to be to these students, I have to limit the number of spots available. Like, I wish that I could take everyone, but I can't. I'm really sorry. Cloning technology does not exist yet, but spots for today are capped at 40 for this round, and I already opened up spots to the waitlist, and we are now down to just 24 left. I do not expect us to have spots available for much longer, and doors will close just completely on Tuesday. So if you want in, join us. And as I can kind of see it, you have two choices, right? You could stay where you are, you could keep going it alone, which is so valid, or you could just see what it's like to work with me and directly scale your business faster than literally ever before, to see what's possible for you with hands-on support and direct feedback from me every single week. So that's my pitch. Thank you for hearing me out. And now I will take any questions that you guys want. So it's just Q&A time. I'll be looking at the chat. Okay, let me pull up the chat really quick. I see we're already getting questions. Is there a way an artist can offer high ticket without educating? Yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely. The way that I would think about this is by thinking about what kind of experiences you can give to your ideal audience, like what they want from you in an emotional sense, like what value you are providing, to sort of think about that and come up with some really tailored ideas and how you can provide that value in like a white glove, hands-on kind of format. That could be a product that's really expansive. There are folks that sell digital art on like retail products. You do something like that if you wanted, or you could do something more tailored in digital format, like an interactive experience in some way. But yes, there is for sure that is a possibility. Okay, can you go through in more detail on 10x tasks specifically? Yeah, let me know exactly what your question is. Any general advice for building up an audience to start marketing to? I think that's the one I've been facing the most. Yes, okay, so if you wanna find your ideal audience, I talk about this in my book, but I think that I want you to think about sort of, how do I wanna say this? Like you are curating an exhibit in a bookstore. So this local bookstore has asked you to curate an exhibit around your work, right? you are allowed to display your work in this section and to pull books from all over the bookstore to display in this section of the bookstore. To just curate this completely, right? You could pull books from the mystery novel section and the cookbooks and travel and architecture and kind of build up this thing that you feel like represents all of the media and elements and artistic movements connected to an inspired that your work is inspired by. If you do that, if you curate that exhibit for yourself and like actually do this, like go on Amazon or bookshop.org and like do this, do that, and then ask yourself one question: who would shop in that section of the bookstore? Who would love all of these books? What kind of person is this? Where are they at in their life? What might they do for work, right? Asking yourself that one question of thinking, okay, like I have curated this exhibit to be representative of the themes around my work, the interests. Who would be interested in this? That will hopefully open up a lot of sort of good ideas for you and who your ideal audience actually is. I'm getting some folks asking about the offer. Is it good for an author business? Is it good for photo services? Yes. Emily, who I mentioned earlier, she made $2,000 this past week. She is actually a copywriter, so she sells her services to businesses. We also have folks that do retail. We have folks that do like children's book illustrations. We have folks that do like doll commissions even. I have a wedding calligrapher. I have a couple photographers in there. I also have folks that are fine artists as well. There are some content creators explicitly. I even have a dungeon master for D&D. So lots of different kinds of folks that do illustration, that love being creative. I have folks that run Kickstarters for games they're developing. If you consider yourself a creative, if you feel like the frameworks I've been teaching today would be valuable for you, I would love for you to join. And I talk about this on the offer page that you can access via the QR code. But if you join, you decide that this isn't really for you, I will give you your money back. But I do only have a couple of spots available just because of my own capacity. So that's important to keep in mind. Okay, what did I mean by increasing LTV via new offers? Yeah, so that's lifetime customer value. So a customer can purchase from you once, right? And let's say that your product is $22. Their lifetime value so far is now $22. But if you offer them a new product and they purchase it and it's also $22 and their lifetime value is now $44, right? So when I say lifetime value, I mean bringing in repeat customers. Getting that pool of folks that have already indicated that they love your offer, that they love you as a creative, that they appreciate and respect your business. Getting those folks to come back is one of the best ways to boost revenue in business. It's something that I don't see other creatives doing enough, and is just by far like one of the best ways to boost revenue. So thinking about ways that you can have return customers come back and to increase that lifetime value, like I said, that's really, really important and is absolutely a 10x task. How imperative is it to know why you create and your story? I think it's actually really important. And I would really suggest that you do some journaling on this to try and think about why you love the work that you do. It's okay for that to be, I like making pretty things. It's okay for that to not have like a super emotional aspect to it. It's okay to just love the craft, but there should be a reason, right? And I think if you think about it to yourself, like there is a reason why you make the work that you do. Why else would you spend so much time on it? Do you love the craft of it? Do you love getting better? Do you, like Timothy Chalamet and Marty Supreme, just want to be the best? That's okay. But that's your story, right? Like that's your drive, that's your motivator, that's why you're here. You might find that there's another reason, that maybe you love telling a certain kind of story, and that is in itself just a kind of different element of why you are making what you do. But yes, I think it is incredibly important because in the age of AI, where like kind of anyone can show up and create something that some consumers will think is good. I personally don't like it very much myself, but some customers will be satisfied by this, right? It's important to, I think, lean into your humanity, to your story, to why you are creating, because I personally believe that long term customers will really value that connection with another human person. That even as these tools get better, people will really appreciate the craft of it, how much time it's taking you, your own personal story. And people don't just buy products in a vacuum. They like to buy from people that they know, that they trust, they care about. And so you want to increase the like awareness of your humanity and you and your story. So I think it's really important. How do you make a high ticket offer as a fantasy author? I would release a limited edition collection of your book. I would have some fun illustrations. I would have a beautiful dust jacket. I would have like even prints that you work on with illustrators at a large sizes and have it all as a bundle. I would even consider doing like merchandise and clothing inspired by your characters and having that all as a bundle as your high ticket. You could also do like experiences with you as the author, like Q&A sessions. You could do book reading clubs. You could do lots of things. Yeah, I mean, like the whole world is up into you. I could sit here and recite ideas for like 30 minutes, but I can't do that because there are more questions. I have a conversions problem, but even by doing lots of call to actions and storytelling, I still don't make sales. I don't have any ideas anymore. Okay, I think if that's you, if you have a conversions problem and you're still doing call to actions, do you have the right audience? To return back to the leads bottleneck, right? Like, do you have the right audience for your offer? Are you attracting only other creatives? I would be very vigilant of the kind of content that you are creating and who you are attracting. Like, click on who is following you and who's engaging with your content. Stalk them on Instagram a little bit, right? Don't, like visit their house or anything like dangerous, but check them out a little bit. See who they are, see who else they follow. And if you discover that they are only other creatives, then you have like a positioning issue. So you want to go back to the leads bottleneck and consider ways that you can create content that is specifically for customers that shows people how your work would fit into their lives if they purchased it, basically. So if you are still doing call to actions and you're posting content but you're not getting results, what you probably have is an audience and product mismatch. So those two things are not connected enough. Give an example of a conversions to next task. What would that be? A conversions to next task would be like running a flash sale is a great example, right? So like if you want to boost sales and you have an offer and you have leads but they're not purchasing, run a flash sale or have a bundle like I mentioned earlier. To that, you would have to send like one or two emails or a couple of social posts where you basically have some element of urgency. That's what I've done today, right? I only have 24 spots available. I'm not sure where we're at in terms of orders. I haven't been checking it all because I've been focusing on Q&A, but I can only serve so many customers. That adds an element of scarcity, and that provides in itself urgency. Yeah. And so if you can only, sell like 10 originals or 10 commissions, then you can lean into that. You can be like, I can only serve 10 customers. And if you have 200 people on a wait list, then they're going to be motivated to purchase, right? The same thing is true for sales, for bundles, for any other time that you are selling something online. If you can add an element of urgency, you will see more conversions. How much time would someone have to put into the Creative Accelerator to make it work properly? I think that it will require some amount of time. If you can put in something like, let's say, like 2 or 3 hours a week, I think that you would see some pretty good results. I do strongly suggest that you attend live sessions if you can. Most folks only come to one of the two main events that we host every month because of time zone reasons, and all of them are recorded, but I would suggest that you have some amount of time to put in. But my hope is that all of this will just dovetail really nicely into what you're already doing. And it will actually make you more efficient. And with the 10x task framework, especially, you will have way more clarity on what actually drives revenue in your business. What books have I read that have had a great impact on my business? Okay, yeah, where are they? Okay, so one that I really love is called The 12-Week Year. This is an intense one, not gonna lie. It will demand a lot of you, this book. It is not for someone that is not willing to put in a lot of work, but if you really want to have just like massive growth in a very short amount of time, I would recommend it. This is The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Morgan and Michael Lennington. I would recommend that one as well. Personally, lately, I have been loving the $1 Million One Person Business. I am actually in a book club, I think it's like 2 weeks from now, for my students in this program on this book. And it's been so helpful. So enormously helpful at letting me see what's possible and what different kinds of businesses are out there. Not all of them are creative, like the stuff that we're building, but all of them are really, really amazing. And it's been so useful to see like what a 7-figure business actually looks like, even if I don't necessarily want to build one. Like, it's cool to see how the scaling works and what kind of systems you have to have in place to make things happen. What social media would I recommend for growing an audience and for discovery content? Interesting. I think kind of any social media platform can work for this. Like, I have seen clients succeed on LinkedIn, on LinkedIn. It's not where you are posting, it is what you are posting and how consistent you are, and if where you are posting fits your audience, right? Like, I have a client, her name is Melquia. I featured her on my channel before she joined my program, and she is a children's book illustrator. And she is making the switch over to LinkedIn and seeing some really solid results so far. And so is Emily, the other student that I mentioned. And that's because their audiences are on LinkedIn. The people that will buy their work are on LinkedIn. And every business is going to be different. Like Melina and Ali, for example, are both active very much on Instagram. I also have some folks that are on YouTube, of course. As a YouTuber, like, obviously I'm going to attract folks that want to do YouTube. And we have folks on TikTok. Like, it's not where you're posting. It's if that matches your audience. Like, if you want to sell copywriting to businesses, then it makes sense for you to be on LinkedIn. If you want to sell beautiful fantasy art to women in their 20s, then yeah, it makes sense that you're on Instagram, right? Like, it depends on who your audience actually is. Is it true that only 20% of your time will go out to core creative work and 80% is their business stuff? Oh, that's not what I mean at all, Sylvia. So a 10x task can be making art, of course, right? Like, if you think about the products that you offer, right? Like, if you want to sell prints and originals, creative work is a 10x task. Like, having an offer for sale is a 10x task, and required under that is doing creative work. So that's kind of what I mean by that. But yes, creative work is a 10x task. I do think, though, that sometimes you will have to have periods of your life where you are creating a little bit less to do all of the other stuff, like to do content, to, bust that leads bottleneck. Like, that's really important. But I do think that creative work is a 10x task. I think that, like, all of the fun design work that I had to do to put this presentation together, that was fun for me, right? Like, I love design stuff. That, for me, felt like a 10x task because I can reuse this over and over again. So that is, yeah. Sofa King Duck is correct. New offers also equals new art. Oh, that's a good one. I'll imagine many of us are not fans of generative AI. Has it become harder to succeed as a creative in the advent of AI? I think it has, in some sense, become harder for sure. But I also think and I actually talked about this in a recent video. I think that in some sense, there's this massive swing, right? Like, there is always sort of culturally movements to and away from something, right? So right now, a lot of folks are swinging towards AI, but there is an equal or almost greater sort of counter movement against it. And that's why I think that leaning into your story by talking about your humanity, by building this connection to you as a creative, gives you an incredible opportunity. We have to set ourselves apart from the slop. We just have to. There is no excuse. You cannot avoid that. It does take work, for sure. I will grant you that, but it is possible. Absolutely. And I also see lately a lot of folks are returning to analog, so older ways of working to demonstrate kind of proof of work, like humanity, to demonstrate the fact that they, didn't click a button and make something, that they were able to put their heart and their soul into it. I see folks returning to analog in the sense that they are kind of filming on camcorders, or they are going outside more. They're holding in-person events. I myself am seriously considering holding in-person events for students in this program and also for other folks too. Like, it's something that I'm very actively considering. So I think that as the world becomes more artificial, people will sort of rise against that in a way and have a preference for something that feels real, like undisputably, for sure, 100% real, right? We want to trust what we are seeing, and the creatives that capitalize on this moment, that demonstrate their humanity, that aren't afraid to go analog and have in-person events and like build this community around themselves, like around their work, they will succeed in this moment. The folks that refuse to evolve, or that even give in to AI and like ruin that trust, and I think that AI is a counter signal for trust. Like, I have strongly encouraged my students who have varying opinions on AI to really consider what it could be like for them to move away from that and toward taking their own marketing photos, right? Like, to not writing that email with ChatGPT, because I think there is something to be said for doing it yourself. It's harder for sure, but I don't want to read a marketing email from someone that couldn't even be bothered to write it. No, like, that's so disappointing. It shows a lack of care. What I care about as a coach and as an entrepreneur and as a consumer myself is that you put in the time. Like, I want to feel respected. I think that's really important. I see folks asking me about one-on-one sessions. I do not, unfortunately, offer one-on-one sessions, just because I only have so much time. I'm a one-person business, and I have to give all of my energy to my students. And I think that's what, like, in part makes this program so special, because this is kind of the only way you can get direct access to me right now. Just because I have to give myself kind of over all the way to my students, and to really care about them. Like, I am exchanging voice notes every day back and forth. Like, I am giving so much of myself, and I would go crazy if I offered one-on-one sessions on top of that. So it is direct access to me and group coaching sessions and a ton of live workshops and live events and all of these things. Like, next week we have 3 welcome calls. There is a hot seat session next week. We also have group coaching, and then the week after that, we'll have the book club, and that's just like so much. So I know I can't do one-on-one sessions outside of that. I can't do one-on-one sessions outside of that. It's just not possible. But I do get asked that a lot, so it's totally fair to ask. How important is it to sell via your own website versus other platforms? I think it's good to just sell, period. Like, I wouldn't get super caught up on your website versus other platforms. If other platforms are working for you, I have students that are thriving on Etsy and Square and, other platforms. If you just have products for sale, that's totally fine. If you feel like those platforms are not driving attention for you, if they are taking too much in terms of platform fees that are not, being made up for in various benefits, then switch to a website. I think that the most important thing is just that you have that as an option, that you have an offer available, and that you are focusing enough on leads to actually drive traffic to that offer. Can I break down the legal process of launching an art business? Okay, so that's so fair. This is maybe like the second to last question, by the way. We've been here for a hot second. Okay, so the legal process. So in the US, at least, and I can only speak for the US, when you start out, you are by default a sole proprietorship. That means that you have to do no forms, nothing. You can sell stuff, and that's just cool. Yeah, you're selling stuff. If you table at markets, if you have brick and mortar store, then there are other requirements within that. And when you have a sole proprietorship, you are taxed at a higher rate if you go full time. You have what's called a self employment tax. That's like 15-20% in some places. I know here in California it's pretty steep. And as soon as you make six figures, you should switch. So as soon as you make six figures, you should consider breaking into an LLC and an S corp. But for right now, literally none of those things are relevant to you. Okay, so it can be very tempting to make things super complicated. But a part of what I like about the US, and this country has a lot of problems, but a part of what I love about this country is the fact that people are so entrepreneurial, and we do make it easy to start a business. It does not have to be really complicated. Like, you are by default a sole proprietorship, and I think that's really great that we made it really easy, so it doesn't have to be super hard. If you live somewhere else, or if you feel like you are an exception in some way, I would strongly recommend that you call your local government. There are like bureaus of commerce and small business councils that are literally paid with your tax dollars to provide you services and answer your questions. And for more specific stuff, I would recommend just calling them. Again, they're people whose entire job it is to give you clarity on this, and they will know much more than I will here on the internet, not knowing anywhere about where you live, or what your situation is, what you should do next. But it does not have to be super complicated. And I would ask yourself, okay, how can I make this as easy as possible? And can I start with that? Like, you do not have to have a website. You could sell in person. You could sell through, God, even Facebook Marketplace if you really wanted, right? Like, if that was the easiest thing you could think of, then you could do that. But generally speaking, I think that you should add complexity later and not allow yourself to use that as like a means to defer action. Okay, one last question. Ooh, I like this one. Bella the Vamp asks, is selling art as a creative business more about the customer connecting with the artist, or how skilled the artist is? There is, of course, I think, a barrier to skill that has to be reached. But there's it's funny, right? Like, there are two really important ingredients. You can have a really amazing skill, and that allows you to get away with not doing any connection. Like, if you are the best painter in the world and you just post that and your process is spectacle, like if your process is so dramatic and so enchanting and so skilled that you don't have to say a word, then of course you can avoid connecting with customers, right? But most of us will never in our lives achieve that level of skill. Or it would take an enormous amount of effort and we don't frankly want to, right? That's one thing. On the other hand, artists that have basically no skill, and I say no skill in terms of like they don't know how anatomy works, they're like, using crayons on cheap paper and they're just having fun, right? So it's not skill in terms of like worthiness, it's just raw ability or whatever. You can have very little of that and do an enormous amount of connecting with customers, like make like meme art basically, and make $1 million a year. Those two things are totally possible. Totally possible. But often we're not falling on either of those extremes. We are making choices. We're falling somewhere in the middle. It's a spectrum. And if you feel like you have the skill, but you are not getting the results that you want, you can either increase skill a ton, which is good, of course. It's always worth it to do that. But oftentimes, almost the lower hanging fruit in a way is to connect more with the customer, because there are so many people out there that are incredibly skilled, but there are sort of not as many that are doing this work to connect in a way that you could connect. Like, there are just actually fewer people that are setting themselves apart in a way that really matters, leaning into their humanity, and telling really amazing stories. And I think a part of what lets creatives like Jeff Weir, for example, do so well is that he is both very skilled and he does a great job at connecting. That is why he has almost 500,000 followers online, because he has both of those things. You can have just one or the other, but I think it's ultimately better to try and have both, because then you have the other thing to fall back on if one changes. The market is always shifting, but I think having your creative skill at a decently high level and knowing how to connect with someone on a human level, having those two things is incredibly important. And I always teach both. So I'm not the person to go to if you want to learn how to, paint like Caravaggio, but I can help you connect. And the reality is, way more creatives are not connecting. And that is, I think, often like the 10x task of business almost, to learn how to connect. Okay, so that is, I think, kind of where I'm at. I'm losing my voice a little bit now. We have been live for almost 2 hours. So, yeah, as a general reminder, we have spots available, I think. I've been talking for a long time. I don't know how many we have left. Again, I haven't been tracking anything. But you'll receive an email from me with a replay to this event if you want to watch, rewind, take notes, literally anything. I will be in your email inbox. Also reminding you that we have spots available. If we do, again, I have to check. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this live, and I had a great time. I will see you all on YouTube in the comments section very soon, and I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. Okay, bye guys. Thank you.